It's April 21st. Welcome to YesToHowWhat.com. Last night, we were blessed once again with the anointed words of one Mr. Wayne. And since I've committed to no longer addressing him directly, for he is clearly not teachable, I'm going to do something far more valuable. I'm going to use his example as a masterclass on what not to do and who not to be. And I'm speaking to you directly, the good people who watch these videos all over the world. Because this is not about one man, it's about a posture, a very common posture. The posture of a follower of a guru, someone who believes what he wishes without ever doing the work to understand it from the outset. And that posture is exactly what gets people destroyed in courts and administrative venues. So let's break it down. First, due diligence. When someone speaks with certainty but has not read the material, reviewed the record, the trial transcript, or studied the documents, or understood the framework, what are they doing? They are not analyzing, they are reacting. This is the hallmark of a follower. They hear something, they latch onto it, and they repeat it without ever asking, do I really understand this? And if you walk into a courtroom with that posture, you will be dismantled, because the system does not respond to your confidence. It responds to preparation. Second, outcome versus record. The follower says he lost, therefore he was wrong. That is the thinking of someone who has never examined how outcomes are produced. Courts do not operate on slogans. They operate on procedure, admissibility, preservation of issues, and what is allowed into the record. If you don't understand that, you are not equipped to challenge anything. You are simply accepting outcomes as truth. And that is exactly what the system depends upon. Third, misuse of case law. You hear, Cheek says this, and suddenly that's the end of the conversation. That is not legal reasoning, that is parroting. The follower takes a case, strips it of context, and uses it to avoid deeper inquiries. But real understanding requires asking, what does the case actually address? What does it not address? How does it apply, and how does it not apply? If you don't ask those questions, you're not using the law, you're hiding behind the law. Fourth, authority without analysis. The follower says, authority comes from statutes, and stops there. That sounds intelligent, but it's incomplete, because authority must be invoked, applied, and connected, and that connection requires understanding. Jurisdiction. If you don't understand jurisdiction, you don't understand authority. And if you walk into any venue assuming authority instead of examining it, you will lose every time. Fifth, failure to demand answers. This is critical. When a man asks, what law requires me to act? And the system refuses to answer, what does the follower do? He ignores the question. He skips over it. He becomes the critic. He says, well, the law exists. But that is not the issue. The issue is, was the question answered? Was the obligation clarified? Was the connection made? If you don't demand those answers, you're not engaging the system, you're submitting to it. 6, presumption. The follower operates on one belief. If the system said it, it must be correct. That is presumption. And presumption is the foundation of compliance. Not truth, not understanding, compliance. The Liberty Dialogues exist to break that cycle. Presumption, inquiry, understanding, and then action. But if you stay in presumption, you never move. 7th, and most important, posture. Mr. Wayne's posture is not unique. Unfortunately, it's quite common. It is the posture of someone who wants to be heard without first seeking to understand. The posture of someone who wants validation without doing the work required to earn it. And here is the warning to all of us. If you adopt the posture, if you follow someone who speaks with certainty but without depth, if you repeat conclusions without understanding process, then when you enter a courtroom, when you face an agency, when your rights are actually on the line, you will be treated exactly as you have trained yourself to behave. You'll be dismissed, overruled, defeated. So what is the solution? Not mine, not Mr. Wayne's, not anyone's package. The solution is this: you must ask questions, which is something Mr. Wayne does not do. You must demand clarity. You must understand structure. You must know process. And you must be willing to stand in that understanding, even when it is uncomfortable, even when it is challenged, even when the outcome is uncertain. Because a man or woman who understands is very different from someone who believes what he wishes. One acts on the one hand, and the other simply reacts. So before you follow anyone, before you adopt any position, before you speak with certainty, ask yourself, have I done the work? Do I understand the system? Or am I simply repeating what I've heard? Because that answer will determine everything that follows. The Liberty Dialogues is not about giving you answers. It's about teaching how to ask the right questions so that truth becomes unavoidable. Walk that path. And as always, may truth reign supreme.